are now listening to the Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the XGen Podcast, the show centered around four friends that discuss all things gaming. My name is Liam and I'll be your host for today. And as usual, I'm joined by Katie, James and Evan. How you doing, guys? All right?
Yes,
Ooh.
very good. You?
Yeah, very good, thank you. What have we been up to? What have we been playing recently?
Well, I bought a Oculus Rift last week, and I
nice.
haven't come out of virtual reality for that said week. I've lived in every single game I could buy. It's been amazing.
What games
I
have
don't
you
know what's
purchased
real
for it?
anymore. So I've just completed Half-Life Alyx, which
Oh, nice.
it is probably the best game that I've played in a couple of years. It's fantastic. I can't even describe how good it is, because it's one of those things where it's like, you weren't there, man. Because it was in VR, it's like I experienced it solely by myself, and it's kind of one of them things that's just the immersion of it is just crazy. It honestly felt like I was there. And yeah, I was talking to my wife the other day and saying all these things, and she was like, you wasn't there, like it wasn't real. It's like
It
kind of
felt real.
it's like when people say to me, what have you been up to this week? And it's like, oh, well, I killed a few aliens and stabbed a man in the face, and that didn't happen.
Is it like wrestling, where it's like, it's real to me, damn it?
Exactly. That's exactly what it's like. And what else have I played? I'm currently playing The Walking Dead, which is amazing in VR. That feels very real as well.
Is that Saints and Sinners?
Saints and Sinners?
That was called. For some reason,
Yes,
I thought
the
you were
one.
talking about what was it, Telltale game? And I was like, then you went VR, and I was like, oh, okay.
I was thinking
Yes.
the same thing.
Yeah, Saints and Sinners is it's amazing. You can make some. You can just be ruthless. It's just It's almost like living out the sort of things that I wouldn't do in real life. Let me give you something, for instance. A lady asked me to retrieve her husband's wedding ring because he was a zombie. And I retrieved the ring, I killed her, and I kept the ring. And now I've got it in a little trinket box in my caravan. But it's amazing. It's just very, very cool. And then apart from that, there's a sandbox game I've been playing where you can just sword fight people for hours. So that's what I've been up to probably all week.
If I could just backtrack a little bit and ask a
Yes,
question
sure.
about Half-Life Alyx there. I'm curious because I've not really seen any gameplay footage. Is it first person?
Yeah.
It is. Okay.
Yeah, it's like living through her eyes. So I'll tell you what is quite cool as well. You have these gravity gloves, and you can pick anything up with them. So if there's like a magazine of ammo over the other side of the room, you can hold your hand out and then press a button and like flick it to you, and then catch it in your hand.
Oh, nice.
And I was sitting downstairs with my kid watching Netflix. He was watching something on TV, and I wanted to get the remote, and I put my hand out to flick it towards myself, and then I realised that I couldn't do that in real life.
So it almost gives you a sense of having Jedi-like powers.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, it's just like that, because then, it was just, I totally forgot that I couldn't do that in real life, and I was sitting there trying to grab it, and it's like, oh yeah, that isn't real, that hasn't happened yet. So yeah, but I would advise anybody, I know it's a lot of money, but get it for that sole reason of playing that game. Apart from, I think it's going to completely change VR. I mean, that game alone, I think although VR's been around for quite some time, I think that game is groundbreaking, and it's going to open up the gates for just so many more really hard story-driven narratives for VR games. I think it's just going to explode. I honestly do think. I think it won a Game of the Year award in VR. It's amazing. I don't want to say too much about it because the story is just I'm gonna do it now.
I've heard people say it's like one of the best VR games I think they've ever played. In terms of because most VR games, I feel like again, I'm speaking not from real experience because I've never played or jumped into VR, but they say that like VR games are not really well known for like story kind of things. I guess it's more gameplay.
Yeah, some of them are quite just like based on amusing things that you can do for like 20 minutes. But
Like Beat Saber, just like try to hit all the things, and when they fly at your face is like.
So Half-Life Alyx it's got like a 10 to 15 hour campaign. It's quite a long game. It took me 10 hours to complete, but I have to go back and I want to finish up some achievements and things like that. But I would thoroughly recommend it. I also
how many? I was just going to ask, how many hours could you spend in, like, say you wanted to, like, say you got home from work or something, and then wanted to just be like, I want to play Half-Life Alyx. How long then would you like? I was just about to say sit and play it, but obviously you're probably standing and playing it.
So
how long would you do in a session?
I think I played for about 3 to 4 hours per session.
So I bet it's recommended to not go overboard with it.
Probably not. I mean, I bought a game just before I bought Half-Life Alyx, and I had to send it back, and it was called Boneworks. And what I didn't realise, it's really well known for giving people motion sickness because of the way that the physics are in that certain game. Your head and your arms, there's something to do with your head and your arms, like your head bobs at certain places, and it's something to do with the jumping. And I played it for 15 minutes and I had to lay down for about 4 hours. I felt so ill after playing it. I sent it back, and then I looked online because I was thinking, oh God, I hope this isn't like how I feel when I play VR games, because I've never had this problem before. And when I looked online, it said it's literally notorious for making people feel.
I wonder how a game like that like gets through the whole development process without like the dev team like also experiencing that and being like, we have like an issue here and we can't really like ship this because no one's gonna be able to play it.
I think it's more of a I think if I'd have carried on playing it, I would have got used to it. But I don't really want to see how many times I can get close to chundering every time I play a computer game.
Not worth it, to push through that.
I was really worried because I thought I'd have the same problem with Half-Life Alyx, but then I didn't at all. I mean, it was great.
I must admit, the only problem I find with first-person games, which obviously most VR games are, but if you're given the option to free roam and actually move as if you were playing a first-person shooter on a regular console, that to me feels very weird, and I almost lose my balance. So I don't know how you played, whether you were playing like it sitting down or standing up.
And I play free roam.
Yeah, see, if
I
that were
can't do
me,
the whole teleport thing. That takes me out of the game. It kind of takes me out of the immersion.
See, I thought it worked really well with Batman Arkham.
VR Arkham. Yeah, I know what one you mean.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of it now for the life of me. But yeah, it worked really well for that, I found.
But I haven't played that yet. I don't know whether I've heard it's not very long. I've heard it's like.
It could be done could be done in one sitting easily. I think it's maybe about 3 hours, 3 to 4 hours, maybe.
Oh, right. Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, it definitely takes a few hours to do.
Okay.
It's a good story. It's actually a really good story. One that gets you thinking. So it's if you can pick it up cheap, I definitely recommend it.
Okay, yeah, I will. Yeah,
it's definitely one of the better VR games I've played. I've got. I was going to recommend Rick and Morty to you as well, if you're a fan of Rick and Morty.
I've seen that. Yeah, I was going to buy it in the Steam sale, but it's gone up to like 30 quid now, and I thought I'll wait for the next one.
It's not worth 30 quid.
No, there's a lot of them on there which aren't worth the money that they've. I mean, Half-Life Alyx is £46, and it was worth every single penny, and I would thoroughly recommend that. And Saints and Sinners was £20, and I highly recommend that as well. I really do.
That's the sort of game I feel like is good for VR purposes in terms of its gameplay. Grabbing your weapon and just chopping up some zombies is like, that sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah. Do you guys watch The Walking Dead?
I do.
No.
I'm all caught up.
When you see like them stab a zombie in the head and then like pull the knife out.
That's what you do. Oh, that probably feels so good.
It feels amazing. It honestly feels so real.
Is this the game that I commented on your YouTube channel, James?
No,
where you were
that
stabbing
was
people in the
Blade.
head and throwing them off the side of a bridge.
No, that was Blades. That was Blades and Sorcery.
Okay.
That's an amazing. That's if you've had a bad day and you just want to fight some like knights or gladiators, then I thoroughly recommend that.
Okay.
I genuinely laughed out loud with that when I saw that video.
Yeah, that's an amazing game. Yeah.
So here's my final fear with Half-Life Alyx is the system specifications required to run it.
Right, okay. So my computer crashed quite a lot, and I've got a very high spec computer, and I don't know why it was bugging out. But the last 3 levels of the game, every time I died, I was kicked out of the game, and I had to restart it. And that was like the last 3 chapters. That happened to me only on one day, and then the next day it didn't happen. But I'm not sure why it did that at all. But that's the only. I mean, it is very heavy. It will. I thought my PC was going to take off.
Oh,
It was literally like
Fans were going.
and I was worried for a bit because I thought, oh no, like that does sound dangerous. But it coped really well with it, and yeah. But I think you are definitely going to need a decent computer. I mean, to be honest with you, I don't know what settings I was playing it in. I just literally started the game up and pressed play. I didn't actually check to see whether I was playing it ultra or high. It would have been one or two of them.
Do you have an RTX GPU?
No. No, I've got an Intel. Unfortunately.
Oh.
So
what's your graphics card?
It's not massively. Let's have a look.
Because I've got a GTX 1070.
I've got a GTX 1660 Super.
Oh, okay. I think that's beefier than mine. Mine's 8 gig.
I think mine's 6 gig.
Oh.
Hold on a minute.
To put it into context, basically my laptop, it's an Alienware, so it's built for gaming. It's an i7 7820 CPU, which is
your computer will smash it.
Yes, it actually runs at 2.9 gigahertz at the minute, but it can boost up to 4.4, and I've got 16 gig of RAM.
Mm-hmm.
Plus
same.
Okay.
Mine's 2.9 gigs, 16 gig RAM. My Intel is I've actually run it on an i5 9400, and it run fine. The graphics card run it fine. So
I just worry about paying £40+ for a game.
Yours will run it.
Not running. Yeah, okay.
It's about a 70 gig download though. It's quite a big download.
Yeah, okay.
But if it doesn't matter if you've got a lot of space. A lot of VR games actually, do they take up a lot of space? Well, that one did. Payday VR took up 70 gig.
I didn't realise that was a thing.
Yeah, it's not very good though.
Oh, okay.
I'd say like the regular Payday 2 is like 10 gigabytes or something like that.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend. In fact, that's the only one I wouldn't recommend. Just for the movement. The movement doesn't work very well.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Nice. So who else? Let's see. Who's next? Evan, what have you been up to?
So I've been playing a few things. First, I'd just like to say a few words. I lost my gaming keyboard of a decade this week.
Oh, what'd you do?
Really
spill something
sad.
on it?
No, it had just slowly stopped working. Like the shift button wasn't working with specific keys, and then the caps lock stopped working, and then the shift button stopped working altogether, and it just.
Do you want us to take a few minutes to remember that, or
just a moment of silence? Yeah. So that was kind of sad. My one of my good friends from high school, it was like a hand-me-down he gave me. So that was kind of a bummer. But I did get to buy a new keyboard, which was also exciting. But yeah, so that was kind of a
keyboard
bummer.
Did you buy?
I bought it is HyperX is the brand, and it's Alloy Origins is what the keyboard's called.
Is it very clicky?
Yeah, it's a mechanical keyboard. It's like all made out of like metal, so it's kind of heavy and it is really satisfying to like type on. Like the clicking is fantastic, so I'm pretty happy. It's got all the RBG lights or RGB lights,
RBG seems to be everywhere.
Yeah, it's kind of pretty cool. You can like do all sorts of different like color patterns. I can make it so when I click a key, like an explosion of color goes across the keyboard. Like it's all ridiculous. Like I don't know why anyone would ever need it, but it's kind of cool to mess around with and mess with all the colors and stuff. So
my wife has a Razer keyboard which does something very similar. So sorry, she's actually got a Razer mouse mat as well. In fact, almost her entire setup is Razer, but it's set her one. Yeah, very. Her keyboard is set up so that when you talk, it change like you can see the colors changing as waveform.
Yeah,
so, yeah, it's very, very clever. So whenever someone talks, you just see like the bars moving up and down on the keyboard.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's very.
I don't
cool.
think mine can do that. That sounds pretty cool.
Very clever stuff. But again, why would you need that? I mean, some people like that.
Yeah. It's like a cool thing to have. Yeah, it's like really distracting. Like if you're actually trying to like focus on something and like your keyboard is like changing colors and lighting up and all this crazy stuff's happening, it's really not conducive to like focusing, but it looks cool. So, kind of worth it.
Yeah.
But I can make the lights match my Hue Sync lights, and my like my graphics card lights up blue and my mouse lights up blue, so I can make them all match each other. So
nice.
It gives for OCD. But as far as what I've been playing, so sorry, I'm pulling up the Google Doc here. Remember what order I've got. So last time I talked about Resident Evil 7, I'm still playing that. And the only reason I haven't finished it is because of another game I've been playing, which I'll talk about in a second. But I'm at the very end, I think. I'm on the big ship. If anybody who's played it knows what I'm talking about. So I just kind of got into that, which I'm thinking I'm about at the end. So switch the character you play as, and so I kind of got stuck at a spot because you like they like abandon you with no weapons or anything, and I'm kind of scrambling around trying to find something. And as I said before, once I play for an hour or two and I get through like a boss fight or something, I kind of have to take a break from it for like a couple hours. So I'll probably go back to that tonight or tomorrow and try to wrap it up.
Yeah, you've probably got another couple of hours.
Oh, really? Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I'm loving it so far. It's really fun. Once you kind of push yourself past, and I mean, I'm probably more afraid of like these horror type of games than most people are, but once you kind of push yourself past that, like, dread of like going into a building or going down a hallway or like that fear of like progressing because like you don't know kind of what's around the corner, like it is just so much fun. I mean, playing it's fun, the atmosphere is fun, so still loving that, as much as I was, when we talked about it a couple weeks ago.
What I would say, Evan, is if once you've completed it, definitely give the Chris DLC a go, because it's full action based and it's set just after the end of the game, and it's really good. It's free. It's completely free. It comes with Resident Evil 7. It's called, I can't think what it's called, something like No More Heroes or something.
Yeah, I saw they like advertised for it on the on like the homepage
really
of the game. I think I've seen that.
Really,
Yeah, I'll have to give
really
that a shot. Yeah, and I bought RE2 Remake on the Steam Lunar Days or Lunar New Year, whatever it was, sale that they had a couple weeks ago. So I'll probably jump into that when I'm done.
Nice.
Too. So I'm looking forward to that. So yeah, still liking that. Looking forward a lot to Village now that I've kind of gotten into this one. So I'm excited. I might get the has the demo released on PC yet? I know it came out on PlayStation.
Not yet.
Not yet. I'll have to play that when it comes out. But yeah. And then another kind of short little game I played is called Donut County.
I saw this on the dock and I was like, what? What sort of game is this?
Absolutely love Donut County.
So if you played, and Katamari Damacy, is that what it's called? The one where you like roll around as a ball and like you're picking up objects and growing in mass so you can pick up bigger things and like you're...
Is that a gory game, Katamari?
No, it's like a cutesy, like...
Oh god, no.
I think it was on...
I'm thinking of Carrion. That's what I'm thinking of, actually.
Nintendo, GameCube maybe. I can't remember what it came out.
I think Katamari was like originally on PlayStation and PlayStation Portable, I think.
Oh, was it really?
No, I thought it was a Nintendo. I thought it was on I thought it originated on the GameCube.
GameCube.
Oh,
It was that
Oh, no,
era
you're-
of games, but it's
I
kind
think
of
you're right.
similar to that. So it's not
I
like
might
the
be
same
getting confused.
developer or anything, but it's a similar concept. So it's kind of like it's a really short game. I mean, I probably beat it in like an hour and a half. But it's kind of like a cartoony style, and it's essentially you're playing as this raccoon that through his job, he they call it delivering donuts, but he's actually like forms like a small hole in the ground, and then you get like things to fall through the hole, and then like the hole gets bigger as you collect more things, and you're each stage is like you're trying to collect bigger and bigger things so that you can kind of collect everything on the stage. And then kind of between stages, it progresses like a story where like this whole town has fallen below the earth because of this raccoon that's that's collecting everything for trash. He like sees everything as garbage, and he's like, raccoons love garbage, so they're trying to like collect everything. And it was pretty fun. It was, kind of a good like palate cleanser, like if you're like between games or something like that. It's really short, and it's got a
It's
really
an indie game,
good,
yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think it
It
was
goes
made
back
by
to
a
what-
single guy.
Goes back to what I was saying about just indie game stories are just so out there and unique.
Yeah. Yeah, and like the story itself is nothing too complex, but the characters are really like goofy, and it's really like lighthearted, and it's got like a pretty good sense of humor. Kind of reminds me of like Adventure Time, if you guys ever like saw that show, or like kind of that kind of just goofy sense of humor. But yeah, I really liked that. It was pretty fun. It's on Game Pass, so didn't have to pay anything, or my subscription to Game Pass, but just downloaded it and played it real quick, and that game was a pretty fun time. So I'd recommend you guys, if you haven't played it, it's a good, just short little game to play.
It's also a really good game for the trophy hunters or achievement.
Easy platinum
collectors,
on PlayStation.
Absolutely, yeah. I'll manage to platinum that one.
Yeah, and the soundtrack is phenomenal. Like I forgot to look, but I was hoping there's like a soundtrack on Spotify or something, because it's like kind of lo-fi indie acoustic-y kind of like music. I don't know how to explain it, but it's really like relaxing, like fun music to listen to while you're just kind of like collecting all this stuff on a little map, and it's pretty fun. There is a soundtrack on Spotify. I'll have to
just when you were describing the game, I was actually smiling from ear to ear, just remembering my playthrough of it.
Yeah,
it's a really fun game, and it's a really nice, relaxing game as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's not too strenuous. There's some nice little puzzles in there as well to get you thinking, so it's not completely mind numbing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. It's, you kind of have to, like, something will get stuck, so you're like, okay, I need to like find something else on the map that's a little bit smaller so that the hole can get just big enough for this next thing. And it's not overly challenging, but yeah, it does make you do a little bit of work.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a fun game. And then what's really been consuming all of my free time the last 2 weeks is Valheim.
I've been seeing this
Yeah, I've been
everywhere.
And James, I know you were playing it. It's just, and I'll preface it by saying I'm not a survival game person. Like, I don't like survival games. This is the first survival game, and the reason I probably like it is because it's not specifically only a survival game, but it's like the first survival game that I played that I actually enjoy and like want to keep playing. So like even like Minecraft, I was not a fan of. Anything kind of like that's never really been my type of game. But and essentially it's a survival game. You start you're in Valheim, which is supposed to be like purgatory for like the Vikings. So you're trying to get to Valhalla, and this is kind of like the purgatory that you have to essentially beat these bosses in the world to ascend to Valhalla. And it's but it is your typical survival game. Outside of that, like, you're gathering resources, you're building your little base, and then you're progressing through the game so that you can get better resources to make better armor and better weapons and new stuff, and kind of build up bigger and better bases. And I think what makes me like it, the fact that I'm not a big survival person, is I think it really nails the sense of progression. So it's not too grindy, but it's also not too easy.
No,
so you have to. Sorry, what was that, James?
I've been finding it quite hard in certain places. I mean,
Yeah.
some bosses are just.
It's
insane.
challenging. Yeah, it's definitely not easy, for sure. But kind of progressing. So like each time you beat a boss, you are supposed to move to like a new biome. So like you start off in like these like grassy meadows, and then the next one is like the dark forest, which is like what it sounds like. It's just, you know, a really dense foresty area, and then you go to the swamps and then kind of progress from there. And then each biome has new materials you can gather to make new like better armor, better weapons. Like you start off with just like cloth and like leather and stuff like that, and then you can, you know, start getting like bronze and then iron and silver, and, you know, kind of how you'd think you'd progress. And then you kind of have to take on the next boss, because if you try to go in under equipped, it is challenging enough, you know. Kind of makes me think of Dark Souls. Like if you kind of go in, you know, under equipped or under leveled, like you're gonna have a really hard time, you know, trying to beat that next level of boss.
Okay, so there is kind of like an objective with Valheim. It's not just sort of like a, what's the word?
Survive.
Like 7 days to die. Like you basically just get your resources, and you just try to survive the day. And then, next day rolls around, you do it all over again, like rinse, repeat kind of thing.
Yeah, it's more similar like Minecraft, where it's like there's a day-night cycle, but there's no end to it. Like you're just progressing through it and like gathering resources, and it's kind of like a never-ending kind of game. And your really only objective is these 5 bosses that you're trying to gather, you know, better materials and get better armor to go take on, so that you can, you know, work your way to the next area. And there are certain things that are locked behind beating a boss. So like specific like stations and stuff you can build to make different things. You have to like beat the boss first. So there is like a wall eventually that you get to where you have to go beat the boss. But for the most part, you can kind of just go anywhere and do anything if you want to. But, you know, if you go to one of the last biomes and you're super under, you know, under leveled and don't have the proper equipment, you're going to get like one-shotted by everything, and it's going to be not a fun time.
It's going to be a long walk back to your body.
Yeah, and it's got that, you know, you die, you drop all of your stuff where you are, and you have to go all the way back there to pick up all your gear and stuff. And but yeah, it's been really fun. I definitely would recommend, if you're going to play it with people. It's really challenging and kind of gets boring by yourself. Some people probably, I mean, enjoy playing it on their own, but just me personally, I've got a couple friends that we have a server we all go on and play together and build our base up and go gather stuff. And it's just a lot of fun. It's kind of one of those games that, you know, you're playing it and you're like, all right, I'm going to play for an hour. And then you realize it's been like 3 hours, you know, and it feels like it's been 10 minutes. But yeah, it's a heck of a lot of fun. I've put like 50 hours into it in the last 2 weeks, which I don't remember the last time I did that with like one game.
That's actually, that's quite a lot of hours for 2 weeks.
Yeah,
it's a part-time job.
I'm not sure how long. I'm not sure how many hours I've done. So I play with a mate. He plays a lot more than me. How many hours have I put into Valheim? Yeah, nowhere near 15. And we're on day 97, and we've got the second boss down. But
yeah, we're on day 170, and we still are working on the third boss. So I'm not any further.
The slime boss.
Yep.
The slime. Mm-hmm.
So we still haven't beat that one, but we like skipped ahead a biome because we found we could go get resources. So we're trying to do that. But yeah, so Valheim, I think those are really the only 3 things I've been playing. I played a little more Crusader Kings 3, but not a whole lot since I started playing Valheim, which is now consumed my life.
Like it is consumed, I feel like, everybody's life that I feel like I know.
Yeah, I mean, it blew up. In 2 weeks, they've sold 4 million copies, I think, which is, I mean, crazy for the size.
How much
of
is
Steam.
it,
and
by the way, on Steam?
$20.
£15.
Okay.
Or 20, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think they just said, and let me see, they might have updated it, but they keep updating. Yeah, February 24th, 4 million copies sold.
It almost seemed like it sprung out of nowhere, this game.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, everybody's playing it.
It did.
Well, I thought you always got your in games, don't you? Because I mean, it always got, you know, Fall Guys was like an in game. Then you had Among Us, and well, there was probably others, but then the only one now I seem to remember is Fall Guys and Among Us, and then now Valheim.
Yeah, I mean, it's everywhere. It's
great to see these indie games. Well, I guess I call Fall Guys a middle game, if that makes sense. Like, it's not quite a AAA, but it's not quite an indie. Yeah. But Among Us definitely is. It's good to see him having the spotlight.
Yeah, and it's actually in early access. It's not even like fully released. And I honestly never would have like guessed it was an early access game from playing. I mean, there's like bugs and stuff, but I mean the amount of time you can put into it and the amount of content there for it being early access. I mean, there are people who have put in, 150 hours already, and it's like they're still like trying to put out new content and stuff like that. So it's definitely like a good bang for your buck too if you enjoy that type of game, that is.
Okay, Katie, how about yourself? What have you been playing recently?
I'll probably be fairly quick because it's basically just been more of the same. It's more cyberpunk. I'm still having a good time, still slowly doing side quest 101 simulator, whatever you want to call it, because I'm going, as I said, district by district in that game, going to all the exclamation points and exclamation marks and just dealing with what I discover. And it's still crazy because I feel like I'm predicting I'll be done with Cyberpunk in probably like 2.5 weeks, I think, depending on how how my work schedule kind of falls and when I get the time to play it and sit down and play it. But it's kind of crazy because I feel like I am so close to the end game, like the path to the end game, and I'm still getting like some side quests pop up that seem really, I don't know, like these big side quests that seem like they maybe should be appearing like earlier on in the game, but no, all these big side missions seem to appear all over the place, and I like that. And I always say, I stress to people that when they do play these games, even if you're probably not the type of person that wants to do like every side quest, you're like, I just want to really stick to the main story kind of thing, maybe do the odd side quest here and there. But in this game, specifically the side missions, like you have these things called gigs, which essentially are just, I feel like kind of like a mercenary type sort of mission. You either go here, take out this person, or you go to this place, steal this thing, and that's kind of it with those. But then obviously you get the side missions, which I feel are the more story focused missions, if that makes sense, like from the actual characters that you meet and relationships evolve with throughout the game and things like that, and you become friends, lovers, all that sort of thing. So I always recommend people who want this game to, as I said, even if they're not into it, to do the side missions. Like gigs, maybe if you don't want to do those sort of things, that's fine. I don't think that really impact you too much. You'll miss out on some XP, some loot, maybe a little bit of like kind of background information on certain things. But the side missions actually impact, obviously, you as the character, as most RPGs do. They impact like how you come across to people in the game. And apparently all the side missions have like an impact on the endings, because I know there's multiple endings. And I feel like it's a case of like the more you do, the more you will get given to you at the end, if that makes sense. Like the more options that will be available to you. So I feel like if you did nothing and just basically just plowed through the main quest, you would probably only have like maybe like 2 options, I guess, for the end game choices or whatever. Because I'm all speculating here because I haven't even got to the end game yet. But apparently people told me there's like 5 endings you could get, which is kind of like Witcher 3. Witcher 3 I know had like 4, I think, endings. I can't remember because I've never actually completed Witcher 3. But
I've
but
never
no,
played Witcher 3. I think so.
but no, it's no. Go ahead.
I was just going to ask more so where's the game at, like stability wise? Have they released some patches? It's just a game I really want to play, but I really am just holding off until it's like a polished product. So I was just curious.
I mean, this is the time I felt I've been recommending to people, like, mid-February, March kind of time.
Okay.
And I would say PC is still like, I'll say at the moment there's like a certain side mission, and I want to say one of the bigger side missions that's bugged for me at the moment. Like I can't actually start it. And you're still getting your usual kind of glitches, small time glitches, like a character like sometimes might talk and their mouth's not moving kind of thing. So little small time things like that. But overall on PC anyway, it's definitely a lot better than it was. Like there's a lot less crashes and all that sort of thing. So I think it's definitely more stable in terms of just it not crashing. But you still may have the odd occasion where you're like driving down a road and a car will just spawn right in front of you and you crash. That happens to me. That happens. I'll have to like post the clip someone made of my stream in our Discord to show you guys. But just for context for people who are listening, basically it was pretty much that. I was driving and I was coming up to like a roundabout and turning, and all of a sudden I crashed and I got flung off my bike. And I kind of looked around like, what the hell was that? Like, I was like, what did I bump into? And I looked, and I was like, there was a car there, overturned on its back. And I was just like, okay. And then I went up closer to it to have just a look, and then also get my bike back. And then all of a sudden, the car just exploded. So, so there's still occasions like that where, but I personally, to me, I'm like, if that happens every now and again, I don't mind. It's kind of funny, even though it shouldn't be there, if that makes sense. Yeah. But it doesn't like piss me off. But it just gives me a little bit of like odd laugh, odd chuckle, and I'm like, okay, I'll move on. But it's definitely, yeah, I feel like it's in a better place. But I mean, obviously I've been saying to people as well, maybe wait for like the next, because they've released one giant patch, as I said, and then they've released like little hot fixes everywhere, like along the way. And then they were going to originally release the next big patch, the number 2. Obviously, they've had to delay that because obviously they had a cyber attack against them, which is a bit bullshit. But there you go.
Yeah, that's right.
But no, I feel I would. It's kind of difficult. It still is difficult to say because I'm like, I don't want to say, yeah, it's okay, and then you go ahead and get it. You're like, hey, it doesn't work. Why did you tell me to get it? But obviously, you get it on PC, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I would probably say go for it.
Mm-hmm.
Question mark.
Yeah, I mean, I'll probably wait till it's on a sale. Probably,
maybe wait for a sale at least. Yeah. But
I was just curious how it'd come along. I don't really keep track of anything. So
it's better. It's definitely better than what it was before, and it's definitely, I think, going to keep getting better. And again, as I think I said last show, that the console version is, I feel like now completely different. People say it's like almost like a new game. Even though the first one didn't apparently work at all.
That's really encouraging to hear as well.
Yeah, they're actually working on it despite, as I said, all the flack I feel like they're still getting. Which, so I mean, I'm half and half. Is like understandably, I guess, I don't want to say deserved, but expected with how the game was released.
Mm-hmm.
But it is good to see that they're, sticking to their guns and making it better. And I keep saying, I think this game come September, October will be a great game. Even though I personally still think at the moment it is a great game to me. But obviously performance wise, it's obviously it's so at the moment. But I think come the end of the year it'll be great. It'll be what it should have been now, essentially.
Yeah. How it should have released.
So for me, I've been playing 2 games. First of all, I think I'll start off with Resident Evil 2 Remake, which I started 2 weeks ago now. And I finished it already. Now I loved it, absolutely loved it. I played it on standard. So when I played the first Resident Evil remake, which was the PS4 remaster of the GameCube version, I played that on easy just for the story because I was just very concerned about running out of ammunition. With Resident Evil 2, for some reason, I didn't get the impression that was going to happen. I'm not too sure why. I think it was because it's more of a modern game and there's a lot more hand-holding now. I say a modern game, but it's a remaster of an old game, but modernized for today. So I just felt like there was a lot more hand-holding that was going to happen. And I actually did read up, it does have the infamous adaptive difficulty. So that if I did die a lot, then ammo would spawn. But I absolutely loved it. I played it through as Claire Redfield. And I figured I'd do that because Chris Redfield was in the originals. I figured we'd go straight on to Claire.
Yeah, you did it canonly. Because canonly, it's Claire A, and you do the second run as Leon. Yeah.
But I don't remember the original, because Resident Evil 2 was the original Resident Evil games I completed back in the PS1 era. Mm-hmm. I don't remember that one being so short, and I don't know if that's because of maybe loading times, etc.
I don't think the original Resident Evil 2 is short. I think it's just this game. I mean, if you think that's short, wait till you play Resident Evil 3.
No way, because I'm going to buy that next, and I can't remember how much it is. I think it's about £25 at the moment on Amazon, and
I'd say it's half the.
You've got to be kidding! It took me 8 hours to complete Resident Evil 2?
I've speedrun Resident Evil 2 in 58 minutes.
No way. What, the remake?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
On what?
There's a speedrunning community. Some people are doing it in like 53 minutes.
That's insane.
Yeah. Yeah.
My problem is I like to explore.
Oh yeah.
So I
Let's
can
play it for that. Yeah.
I mean, I can imagine if you know the area so well, you can get it done so quickly. But for me,
yeah, this is on like my 6th or 7th playthrough. The first playthrough I did it really.
wow.
It took me ages, but yeah, then I start speedrunning things.
Do you guys ever? Sorry, not to get off topic. See, there's a YouTube. I can't remember. It's like a channel that does like devs react to people speedrunning their games. You guys ever watch those?
Yeah.
There was one for like the newest Hitman, and it was just like ridiculous.
The first level.
Yeah, like people. Well, I think it was all like pretty much all the levels, but people just like walk in and they know exactly where to turn, aim, and shoot, like and hit all the targets in the first like they beat it in like 8 seconds. It's like insane.
To do
the
that.
first level gets done in like 10 seconds or something.
Yeah, they just walk in, like point up in the sky and like shoot at like a building up or a room up that's like raised up, and like they just like turn around and walk off the level, and it's like mission complete. It's like the devs' reaction to it is so funny. They're like, how did we set it up so you could do that? Like,
you know what, right? Funny you say that. This is not gaming. It's not gaming related at all. But this is a very, very similar thing to how some games are made. My kid's got this like bus that you put shapes through to like put like it's a star shape, and you can put like a star shaped piece of wood through it. There's one bit on this bus where you can just put every single shape through that hole. And that's what my kid does. He doesn't put it through any other hole or match the shape. He just puts everything through this same hole. And that's how I feel like that Hitman game was made. It's just that you just complete it like that way and just be like, well, that you can do this, but why do it like this when you could just, like shoot up at the air and complete the level. But yeah, no, it's interesting, that Hitman thing. And going back to Resident Evil 2, it's as short as you want it to be, I think, or as long as you want it to be. I mean, on the hardcore levels, I think you'll have a lot more. Not saying that you didn't have fun, but I think on the hardcore levels, it's a lot more. You have to really conserve your ammo and watch your health, because you can just get killed like immediately.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'll go back and do the hardcore levels. I think I will go back and do the Leon campaign. But
there's a lot of unlockables if you do.
Yeah,
plays tofu.
Oh, is that a thing in the remake?
Tofu. Yeah, there's tofus on it as well. Yeah,
I heard about this and I was like, "What the heck?" It's
on the original Resident Evil 2 as well.
Yeah, I remember seeing it on the original Resident Evil 2, but I didn't realise it was still a thing for the remaster. I guess had they not included it, there would have been an
4K
uproar, right?
textures. It's a good.
Literally, what it's literally playing the game as a piece of tofu.
Yeah,
right?
it's a giant piece of tofu.
It's playing through the 4th Survivor. So there's a 4th Survivor mode where you play as Hunk. He's like a tactical SWAT team guy, and you play through this like scenario with him. And you've got to do it within a certain time. But then after you've completed it with Hunk, you can then complete it with Tofu. And you just play this massive piece of tofu.
Imagine just saying
who can he's only defensive. Like, you can't fire any weapons or anything. You just have to run that level.
No.
And it's extremely hard. And every time you get bitten, like a little bit of tofu comes off.
I was just about to ask what happens when you get bitten.
But definitely play. And there's also one called The Lost Survivors, which I think you've already unlocked it. Yeah, but they're really, really good. They're really hard as well. Really hard. The last one of the Lost Survivors, I nearly raged so hard. It took me so many goes, but
you're not selling it to me here.
No, honestly, it's one of them things where you panic in the first few goes of playing it, but then the more and more you play it, you start to see it as like a challenge, and it's like, I have to complete this. And the whole zombie thing and the panic of there being zombies kind of dissipates, and then you become solely focused on just like trying to hit that goal. It's really good. It's very, very good. That's probably what makes the game a lot longer. There's also quite a lot of unlockables in the like in the menu, there's loads of things that you can unlock. I mean, that's pretty good. And Resident Evil 3 has got a very similar type thing, but Resident Evil 3 is not as long, but the story is really, really good.
I've really enjoyed Resident Evil 2. I mean, I dare say I actually enjoyed Resident Evil 2, as short as it was, a lot more than the remake of Resident Evil 1. Whether that's controversial or not, I don't know. I think Resident Evil 2 is regarded as one of the best anyway, isn't it?
Do you know what I think? I think you feel more like you've got a grip of things in Resident Evil 2, whereas I felt with Resident Evil 1, because you couldn't see past, it was like fixed camera.
Yeah.
You can't see the zombie, and it did strike a little bit of fear in you. It's like, I don't want to go off this camera because I'm worried that the zombie's going to be right there. Whereas I feel that with Resident Evil 2, where it's over the shoulder, you feel like you have a bit more control about what's going on and where things are.
I thought I was in control up until Tyrant or Mr. X showed up, and then I found myself dying a lot because I didn't know how to really get away from him. And then eventually I just figured out that he's quite slow essentially, so you can just kind of run past him. But I did die a lot more when he showed up.
And it's also at the same time, it's the hearing the footsteps as well.
Yes.
And it's like, is he outside
Where
the door,
is he?
or is he like ages away? Yeah.
I must admit, there was a few times where I did feel quite uncomfortable in the game because I knew something was going to happen, and it almost happens like if you take out not a herd, but a room full of zombies, and maybe there's like a dead zombie sitting in the corner which just isn't doing anything. You'll complete an objective, and then you expect that zombie to come to life because something always happens normally when you complete an objective, whether it be a licker bursting through a ceiling or, maybe even through a window or something. And there's times where you'll just see like a dead body like in the corner of a room, and you complete an objective and you think, right, that's going to come alive. But it doesn't. And there's more suspense in that, I think, to when it actually does come alive.
Yeah.
Funny that you're explaining that. I'm just like sitting here like thinking about playing Resident Evil 7, and you're exactly explaining like my feelings I have going through that game when they like subvert your expectations and you see like something creepy, or you're going through a room and you're like, okay, something's gonna pop out and like attack me or scare
Prepare
me.
yourself
like,
for a jump scare.
Yeah, you're like waiting for it the whole time, kind of like slowly moving through the room. You got your gun out and you're like ready to go, and like nothing happens, and like then you keep looking behind yourself, like waiting for something to like come behind you, like it's gonna happen after you get out of the room or something. And yeah, it's
sound of a good horror game when they make you feel that way.
They don't have to do anything, it's just like you're waiting for it.
Definitely play Leon Run 2 because you're missing out on 3 extra boss fights.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot more. There's a lot more to it.
Okay, I'll start that this weekend then.
Yeah, and the thing with Run 2 is it's even shorter. There are things that you completely miss out. I mean, you can do it however you want. You can play Leon Run 1 if you want and do exactly the same. Exactly the same kind of story. But if you play Run 2, it's just
I worry about it being repetitive.
Ada's in there and everything, and you've got a different character and things like that who you pally up with and things.
I'd say I do worry about it being repetitive because I've done it once. I just worry about it feels exactly the same doing it again.
No, it will. Yes and no. It will be different. It will be if you play Run B and as like Run 2 as Leon. It will be almost very, very different.
Okay. So the second game I've been playing, moving on, is the original Fallout.
I've seen that. You've been putting a lot on YouTube.
Yeah, because I figured, well, if I'm going to play this, I'd like to record it just to add some gameplay footage to my YouTube channel. I mean, to be fair, not many people are going to watch gameplay footage, but some people also don't want to watch something and listen to someone talking over it at the same time. So it's nice to give them that option. Anyway, it's not a playthrough, the things I've been putting up, because I have no idea how to play this game, and most people that do a playthrough are kind of like walkthroughs as well to tell you where to go, what to do. But I find that Fallout 1 is very poor at describing your objectives or letting you know where your objectives are. It will tell you your main objectives, but if you pick up a side quest, it doesn't track that anywhere. So you can easily forget what it is you're supposed to be doing.
Is that
There's
a case
no,
of
journal
like
or anything that like tells you, like describes where you're supposed to go, kind of like Morrowind did, or is there like nothing?
there's nothing. So you'll look you'll go on your Pip-Boy. Sorry, go on.
No, I was going to say, is it a case of like maybe, I don't know, just a case, I'm trying to word this the right way, that of the time, like maybe people obviously weren't focused on that sort of thing back then, but now that we've had so many games that give you so many side quests or something like that, is that we just expect it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, we're talking about a game that was made in 1997. Is that right?
So.
When the original Fallout came out. So yeah, absolutely. It probably was a case that it's early and they didn't really think that it was necessary to track all your side quests, and it was entirely optional from the main quest because all it literally tracks are pretty much your main quests. But I wanted to get as much out of the game as I possibly could, and I wanted to keep track of my side quests, and I forgot what I was doing, and then I ended up getting lost. And in a game where you're against the clock, and every time you go from one destination to another destination via the map, so to go from one destination to another, it kind of plays this animation where it looks like do you know, like Indiana Jones when he goes from one area to another, you got that red line.
Yeah, like on the map.
Absolutely, yeah. So that's what it does. So you go from, let's say, for example, the Brotherhood of Steel to the Boneyard. They're two different destinations. Sorry. You will lose a lot of days going from one destination to another. You've got 180 days to find a water chip.
Yep.
So if you're lost and you're going from pillar to post trying to find out where to go or what you were supposed to be doing, you're wasting so much time. And you could pump potentially maybe 10, 15 hours into this game and then run out of time and you have to start again.
So is it like almost like you would need to have like a pen and paper out and like write down like what people are telling you so you can remember where to go? Is that kind of what it is? Like there's no journal that tracks that for you?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think that's exactly what it is. And maybe that is what they had in mind. Maybe I'm looking at this all wrong. Again, I'm looking at this from someone who my first Fallout experience was Fallout 4. So everything was there for you to look at. And absolutely, I think you're right, Evan. I think it could be a case that, back then they expected you to have a pad to write down where you were supposed to go.
Yeah. It might have just been they didn't have a way of having like a journal that tracked things. It could have been, well, you said they had it for the main quest though, right?
Yeah, there is. So in the Pip-Boy, you can click on your different destinations where you visited and it will tell you what the main quest is for that destination. But yeah, I mean, it's a good game. Again, it's so old that, I mean, back then it was received a lot better by those people that experienced it for the first time. Me going from Fallout 4 to Fallout 1, it's very difficult for me to play. And it feels like it's becoming a chore now. I've found the water chip, but I did it through help. Yeah. Because I didn't really know where I had to go next. And I kind of lost track of what I was doing. So I found the water chip via help. Once you've found the water chip, again, I don't really want to say too much for anyone that does want to play the game, but it does then allow a bit more freedom because it stops the clock and the game doesn't end. But again, it feels like a chore now. So I think I may be done with it for the time being. And I may jump straight to Fallout 3.
It might be something worth like just having the wiki up on another page where just for side quests, you can like pull the wiki up and it kind of gives you like, not necessarily exactly what to do, but tells you like where to go and stuff like it would if you had like a journal or like a quest tracker like more modern games do.
Yeah. I think it might have been a good idea had I maybe gone into that game expecting to maybe take notes as well. Had I known that, then it might have been a different experience. But it's feeling like a bit of a chore now, so I think I will give it a bit of a put it to one side. Maybe start Fallout 3. I don't think I'm going to enjoy Fallout 2 as much either. I think it's even longer. Fallout 2. I've heard it's quite a long game, so I don't think it's for me personally.
Yeah, Fallout 3 will feel a lot more familiar if you played 4. I mean, it's definitely older, but it's Pip-Boy setup's the same. You've got quest trackers. You've got it's a lot more of a familiar, a lot more modern, obviously.
Makes me feel like how did like I guess the diehard fans feel of like Fallout 1 and 2 because they're very similar games in terms of how they look. How did they feel probably when Fallout 3 came out? Because obviously there was such a big gap between those games in terms of like development. So I wonder how they would have felt.
They were not excited about it. I watched.
It's totally different. It's obviously not a top-down isometric top-down kind of look. It's totally different.
There's a pretty good documentary. Or well, I shouldn't say documentary. It's like a YouTuber that makes like retrospective series. I think it was Never Knows Best is what it's called. It's the guy's YouTube channel. But he did like a retrospective on all the Fallout games. So he went, it's never knows best. He went back through every single game and basically just did like a in-depth review essentially of every game. And he kind of talked about and went into depth with the people who were big fans of 1 and 2, kind of how they felt when Bethesda bought the IP and like when they saw the game and stuff. And
I think who made 1 and 2?
Interplay, I think.
Interplay, yeah, that sounds right. Yeah, Interplay Entertainment. But yeah, and a lot of them, it was kind of half and half. Some of them were okay with it because, you know, I feel like you have that group of gamers that want things to progress and be more modern. And then, you know, you've got the old school diehard fans who are, you know, just want it to be just like Fallout 1 and 2. And I think part of it was that Interplay had started Fallout 3.
Yeah, I was going to
like
say
a
that.
top-down isometric, like similar to what 1 and 2 were, and then it got scrapped when they went out of business, or I can't remember what happened. But so I think part of it was the fact that everybody was waiting for this Fallout 3 that was going to be like 1 and 2, and then that got shut down and scrapped. Then Bethesda bought Fallout, and instead of picking up where, you know, Interplay had left off, they kind of scrapped it and made their own thing. So I think that kind of soured some people on, you know, the Bethesda Fallouts.
So since our last podcast, we'd had not 1, but 3 presentations by the likes of Nintendo, Sony, and the Pokemon Company, as well as some surprising and not so surprising developments over at EA and BioWare. So let's start off with the Nintendo Direct, where we saw a number of games revealed. Guys, did any of you see the Nintendo Direct?
I'll just start off by saying, because for people that don't know me, I'm not really a Nintendo person, so I used to be when I was a kid. That's the thing. I used to be when I was a kid. And
I'm right there with you, Katie. So
the GameCube is one of my favorite like consoles of all time. I love it, and I would, you know, if I still had one, I would probably still happily play some of the games I really loved I really loved growing up. But then it was like after the Wii, I don't know what it is. It's not like I'm like ignorant and like, oh, you know, Nintendo games are for kids or anything like that. But it's just, you know, I don't know what it is. I'm not as excited or as interested in jumping into like Nintendo games as I am with like games that I guess are on like PC or PlayStation and things like that. So, but I'll always keep an eye on what's obviously coming out, because the parents in the house do have a Switch because they enjoy playing their Mario games and things like that. So if anything does kind of like catch my eye that I feel like, okay, maybe this might be my way back into, I guess, getting into Nintendo games. And I guess I've got that opportunity because there is a Switch in the house. But so I always keep an eye on like directs and things like that in case something big is dropped.
I almost wonder if this is like a generation type thing. Whereas, I guess not actually, because James, you're not really a huge Nintendo fan yourself, are you?
No, I think my love for Nintendo might have ended at when GameCube kind of finished. I had a Wii. The only games I really had for it were the Resident Evil Dark Side Chronicles and the Resident Evil Umbrella Chronicles, which were actually really good rail shooters. But apart from that, I never picked up a Wii U, or I've got a Switch, I guess, and that's not too bad. But like I said, I think I said when we were watching that Nintendo thing, it's one of them things where if I was at work, if I was going into the office, then I probably would use it a lot more than what I do now. I mean, now it just sort of collects dust. But yeah, it's a funny old thing, Nintendo. It's one of them things I didn't really play as a kid either. I never had a SNES when I was younger. I was always a Sega guy, so I've kind of back up Katie there, and sort of like I've never really been. I've really enjoyed the GameCube. I thought the GameCube was a cracking.
GameCube is like one of the, along with like PlayStation 1, it was like some of the best gaming memories of like my childhood.
Yeah, it's a good console.
And adolescence.
Most indestructible console either.
Oh yeah.
Couldn't break that thing if you wanted to.
Fair enough. Okay, I mean, coming from someone who has pretty much grown up with Nintendo his entire life, I've always been a Nintendo guy. I had the NES, SNES, GameCube, etc., all the way up until Switch. A few things that really stood out to me from the Direct was the new Mario Golf game, which is called Super Rush. Now, I haven't played a Mario Golf game since I think Toadstool Tour on the GameCube.
Yeah, I remember that.
that was superb. It's so easy to pick up and play, and I really hope that they kind of carry that over to the Switch version to introduce maybe a new generation to these Mario Golf games. I mean, obviously, golf's not the most exciting sport in the world, but Mario helps, with making it a bit more interesting. The Splatoon 3 reveal was also quite a surprise, considering that Splatoon 2 is still very active to this day, I'd say. I mean, it's not long ago they actually released quite large DLC for it. So I didn't even think that they were even considering a third Splatoon game. So obviously the IP is doing something for them.
Was it the big reveal at the end you were wanting? Because I feel like just from like friends who like were streaming it and talking about it, and they were like, "Oh, come on, give us something like big to end it off or whatever." And when they saw that it was Splatoon, they kind of went, "Oh, okay."
I think
they weren't like the hype kind of died down a lot when they saw like the squiggly, squid character of Splatoon.
I didn't know what I was expecting when I saw the Splatoon. I thought it was going to be more DLC to Splatoon 2. Again, I had no idea that they were going with Splatoon 3. And when it eventually was revealed as Splatoon 3, I think my reaction was, oh. Was it what I was expecting? I think the best way to go into a Nintendo Direct is to not have any expectations.
No expectations, just be pleasantly surprised or not, I guess. I don't know.
Absolutely. The second you set yourself expectations, that's when disappointment will set in, because you start expecting revival of franchises or, something along the lines of something new on the Nintendo Switch Online store. Like, as I say in my previous predictions,
your prediction,
the N64 Online, which didn't come true, and there was a part of me that wanted a Nintendo Switch Online announcement, whether it was N64, Game Boy, and that didn't happen. But to say I was disappointed with Splatoon 3, I would say that's not true. I was surprised and I was happy because I enjoyed Splatoon 2. I played it for quite a while. I played the regular multiplayer and the Salmon Rush game, which was kind of like the best way I can kind of describe that is Left 4 Dead, but with salmon and paint. But I got a lot of fun out of Splatoon 2, so I wasn't disappointed. I was quite happy to see that. I think everyone.
You a Smash person?
I enjoy Smash, but I wouldn't say I was. I wasn't. I'm not overly keen on it. I wouldn't. I'm not desperate to play it again. Basically, yeah.
I see people getting annoyed at it now in the sense that, like, because the new characters they revealed are like, what games are they from? Are they Fire Emblem characters or something?
What, the new ones or all games?
The new one, the ones they revealed. They revealed at the Direct.
Evan, what were they?
They were from a game that people played in the past, and they really liked it.
Xenoblade.
Called Xenoblade. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I knew that.
The thing is a point I'm trying to make, or I feel like I see with a lot of people now when they watch these things and these reveals, they keep throwing out characters that seem to just be the same kind of thing in the sense that they're human-like characters with a sword. It's like, or something like that. Whereas everyone's like, oh, kind of like throw us like a thing like, when they threw like Banjo-Kazooie in there, or when they threw like Steve from Minecraft in there, which I still can't believe that happened. Or things like that. I feel like I hear from some my friends and people online that they just seem to be getting a bit like, I guess not bored. Maybe bored is the right word. Of just like release different kind of like characters, because it does seem to be at the moment they're releasing a lot of like characters that seem very samey, I guess, in terms of their abilities, I would imagine.
Yeah. I think some people are expecting Master Chief to turn up.
Well, I know the big ones are Master Chiefs and Sora from Kingdom Hearts.
Oh, Sora would be good.
Yeah, I'm sure.
That's the two I know.
I'm sure part of it is, they have to work out some sort of deal with these devs and publishers, and I'm sure with some of these like bigger name, like if they wanted Master Chief, for example, like that's probably a pretty tricky deal to work out with Microsoft, and like kind of, I guess, like I'm not sure if Nintendo would pay Microsoft or Microsoft would pay Nintendo, or exactly how the because it's still marketing for Microsoft at the same time as it's also helps Nintendo. So I'm sure there's like a point where there's only a certain amount of money and time they'll put into specific characters. So I'm sure it's, they want to release them on a regular enough schedule. And it's like, if they can't get a deal done in time, they're going to go with, whatever they can get out there so that they can keep releasing content. The thing that kind of intrigued me the most in the Nintendo Direct, and just not being obviously a big Nintendo person, I guess two things. One was the Ninja Gaiden Master Collection, which I thought was really cool. I think those are really kind of cool games. I remember playing on like Xbox and Xbox 360 back in the day that were kind of like not a precursor to Dark Souls, but kind of similar, punishing, very difficult, melee combat kind of game. And then that Project Triangle strategy. I'm not sure exactly what it is. It looks like an RPG of sorts, but it's very clearly looked exactly like Octopath Traveler, if you guys are familiar with that. And we were talking about that when we were watching it, but I'm kind of curious to see what that, kind of plays out to be and what they're doing with that.
I feel like I can't end this discussion without mentioning The Legend of Zelda. So what was revealed was the Skyward Sword HD game.
Yeah.
And I think what a lot of people were expecting was a 35th anniversary collection, seeing as it is Zelda's 35th anniversary. Now, I think this is going to be an extremely unpopular opinion, and I think I may have mentioned this when we were watching the Direct to James and Evan as well, is that Skyward Sword's probably one of my least favourite Zelda games, and it's not because of the story, it's because of how it played. And I got excited when they mentioned that motion controls were now optional, because there was an alternative method of control, which sounded silly because this is now, obviously, it's very difficult to adapt motion controls to a joypad. So what they've done is they've allowed you to swing your sword with the right stick, wasn't it? And
yeah,
unless these controls have been improved dramatically for the Switch, I'm not too enthusiastic about seeing Skyward Sword HD. This is not to say I'm not going to buy it, because I am, and I will play it. But
I just won't like it.
Yeah, don't expect me to enjoy it.
I'll be happy about it.
Yeah,
I think you can just, the fact that you can just plug in a Pro controller and play like you would any other, third-person action game, I think increases the appeal, at least in my opinion. If I were to, have a Switch and think about playing it, that would make me a lot more interested in playing. Because, I get what you're saying. The motion controls didn't really work out that well on a whole console that was based around motion controls. So how is that going to actually translate to a console that's not based around motion controls?
All right, well, let's move on to the Pokemon Presents presentation, where there's been some interesting development in the Pokemon franchise. We've had the release date of new Pokemon Snap. We've seen the debut of the remakes of Pokemon Diamond and Pearl, plus a brand new game in the franchise called Pokemon Legends Arceus. Guys, what do we think about the Pokemon presentation?
I was going to say I haven't played Pokemon in a good long time, but the fact that we're finally getting an open world Pokemon game, but is it like the first time? Is it the first time? I feel like it is a proper full-on open world Pokemon game.
I think Pokemon Sword and Shield was quite open world. I've played those two. Oh, sorry, I played Pokemon Sword. Sorry, but almost identical games anyway. That felt very open world to me. So I think what people are more kind of excited about is how very similar Pokemon Legends looks to Breath of the Wild.
Ooh, okay, yeah.
I think the trailer kind of started off with a character on a hill, and then there's just see this like vast greenery area, and it just and this mountain in the background. And I think they compared it to the trailer of Breath of the Wild. It's all very similar. So I think that's kind of what got people interested. I'll tell you what got me interested is the new gameplay mechanics or elements, in fact, that they've introduced. Now there's a part on the trailer in which you see your character kind of crouching in long grass, and you'll see a Pokemon like in the distance, and you have to throw your Pokeball at the Pokemon. I don't think it requires a wild encounter anymore. where you
I was going to say, can I say good? Because those really annoyed me back in the day after a while. You know, you're trying to grind to get, like, I don't know, points for whatever. But I just remember continuously trying to get for the grass, and I'm like, please don't trigger a fight. Please don't trigger a fight. And I'm like, fuck.
It's that noise. That noise, yeah, it does trigger the flashbacks, actually. Yeah. You would. That's exactly how you would feel, though. You'd be playing the game, and then you'd want to just get from A to B without having an encounter, and just think, oh, you know, when
it's the thing, and you always walk a little bit slower because you're just like, maybe that will help.
Yeah, with this one, I think that was with the Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and with Pokemon Sword, that wasn't necessarily the case. I think there were Pokemon walking around, and you had to actually encounter them rather than it being random. You had to walk up to them, which would then activate the fight to then weaken them and throw your Pokeball. Whereas from what we've seen on this trailer, it looks as if you don't even have that wild encounter. You just throw a Pokeball without even weakening it. Again, there's not a great deal shown, but that's the impression I got. So that's an interesting mechanic.
And that's a new thing. That's a new mechanic, because that's like, obviously, I feel like every game is even like Sword and Shield have it, where wild encounters, you know, have always been a thing.
Pretty much always been the thing, yeah. So yeah, that does interest me. I don't know what anyone else thought of that when they saw it, or if they saw it even. James Evan, did you catch any of that?
Not a fan of Pokemon.
You're not? Have you grown out of it now, or was you never a fan?
No, I've not grown out of it. I think the original, for me, the original 151 and Red and Blue,
Yellow. God, that was my first one.
Just stop playing it.
Okay.
I love Pokemon and I love the original ones, but now it's just kind of got to the point where I sound really miserable this evening. But it's got to the point where for me, Pokemon just doesn't do anything for me anymore. Even Pokemon Go, everyone was out doing that. I just couldn't get into it. Can't get into Pokemon now.
Did you not play Let's Go Pikachu or Let's Go Eevee, which was essentially a remake of the original games?
No. No, I didn't know. No.
Did they not interest you, or was there something that they included that you just thought, nah, it's too much, it's too different?
There's so many Pokemons nowadays as well.
Oh, there's hundreds.
Yeah,
there's almost thousands, isn't there?
Yeah, I just, for me, it's just kind of, I don't know, it just doesn't tick on my fancy anymore. No. Pokemon, no.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the same boat as James on this one. I haven't played Pokemon since Red and Blue was the only ones I've ever played. And I think it just goes back to what I was saying before about Nintendo in general, that I just never really kind of, chose to go with the Nintendo console growing up. If, I can only pick one. So I really just didn't. It's not that I chose not to play them. It was like I didn't really have the option because I never really had the consoles for it. So the last Nintendo console I owned was the Game Boy Color.
Ooh, damn.
I had a Game Boy for a little while. I guess I shouldn't say that, but
the other announcement was the remake of the Diamond and Pearl games. Now, again, actually, I've not played these either. So
are they on Game Boy Advance? I'm trying to remember when they were.
So they were originally on Nintendo DS.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the original Nintendo DS. And I think when they were released, I think I was very much similar to kind of James, maybe. I mean, after I played Pokemon Yellow, I very much gave up with the Pokemon franchise. And it was up until the DS when I got back into it. I think it was for the release of Pokemon Black when I started to play them again. I just all of a sudden really fancied playing a Pokemon game. And I think that's where I kind of rediscovered my love for those type of games. I mean, I felt like I shouldn't be playing them because at the time I guess back then I was probably in my mid-20s, late 20s, and obviously Nintendo and Pokemon have that kind of look where you think, well, they're for kids. But I don't know, once you've looked past that, I still really enjoy the games. I don't feel embarrassed playing Pokemon. I absolutely love them. And yeah, Pokemon Black really kind of made me realise how much I loved them. So since then, I played most of them, not all of them, most of them. But Diamond and Pearl are ones I missed out on completely. So I'm quite interested to play these through for the first time.
You played them obviously for the first time. Obviously, as I said, it's a remake, so it'll look how I guess most the Pokemon games do nowadays do. So good time to actually jump in.
It's actually compared
is it an
to,
upgrade or is it actually a full-on remake?
it is a remake, but compared to what, if you consider that Let's Go Pikachu was also a remake, but it almost felt like that was built on maybe like the Pokemon Sun engine, or dare I say maybe even the Pokemon Sword engine, maybe, where it's like it felt a lot more 3D. This one definitely has a more 2D look to it still, so it's a bit more of a faithful remake rather than a full-fledged remake like Let's Go Pikachu was, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm. It says a lot about me with my Pokemon games. My favorite Pokemon game is Pokemon Battle Stadium, which was on the Nintendo 64.
Yeah,
which is obviously not your typical Pokemon game.
Pokemon, was that similar to, so what was it called? Pokemon Battle
Stadium.
Battle Stadium. Okay, so yes, it's going to be very similar to to just a Pokemon Stadium then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. The last announcement really was that the new Pokemon Snap game is going to be released on April 30th, which is a lot sooner than I expected it to be. And I do have a pre-order for that because, again, Pokemon Snap was a very different game to your traditional Pokemon game, and it's just one of those bizarrely addictive games. Who thought taking pictures of Pokemon would be fun?
I was going to say,
you know,
that's pretty much all that game is, right? But it's obviously there's, I guess, I don't know, it's a different things to it, because to me that just sounds like that would get boring real quick. But then there must be something about it that keeps people coming back.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you heard of the term of the type of game on the rail shooters?
I haven't.
Yeah. Well, this is an on the rail shooter because you're in a car which is on rails and you're taking pictures of Pokemon. So in essence, it's an on rail shooter. Or is it an on-rail clicker? How do you want to kind of describe it? I don't know. But yeah, it's a bizarrely addictive game. The original Pokemon Snap on N64 was, again, one that I kind of missed, and I really got back into it. I think when they released it on Wii U on the Virtual Console was when I really got back into that. But I played it briefly on the N64. And there's more to it than just taking pictures as well. You know, you have to get a good picture. You throw a Pikachu an apple, or throw a Pokemon an apple, and get them to have a certain pose so you can get more points, and then you can unlock new areas, and you can have certain interactions with your environment to have new Pokemon appear and take pictures of them. There's actually a lot more to it. It's a really addictive game, and again, it's one of those games where, Evan, like you say, with Donut County, if you're playing like a stressful game like Resident Evil, or something that's maybe giving you a bit of hassle, causing you a bit of stress, Pokemon Snap's one of those games where you can just literally turn it on, sit back, and just
take pictures of Pokemon.
Take pictures of Pokemon and just completely relax with no fear about, getting a certain, like, worrying about missing a certain objective or anything. You just do it, take pictures, and then do it again. Right, okay, well, considering that we haven't got much else to say on Pokemon from those that aren't necessarily familiar with it still these days, we'll move on to the surprising or not so surprising goings on at EA and BioWare. So it was announced that BioWare and EA have decided not to continue development on Anthem Next. Now, this is hardly a surprise to most people. For me, it's not a surprise at all. I played Anthem.
Oh, you did?
I did. I played it all the way through. Dare I say I enjoyed it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But it was very repetitive. I think that the problem with the game is that you'd get told to go to a destination, you'd fly there, you'd shoot, and then you'd get told to go to another destination, you'd fly there, you'd shoot. And it's very much, rinse, dry, repeat,
Mm-hmm. I don't know if the problem with Anthem is they tried, well, for starters, and this is where my ranting's going to start. They created a game that wasn't, like, BioWare's got a repertoire of single player story, rich story driven RPGs with, like, all these unique characters and situations that can occur and your choices matter kind of thing. And then you just look at Anthem and you think that would belong at somewhere like Bungie with Destiny, something like that. It just doesn't seem to fit BioWare's repertoire. So I don't know why it was made in the first place. If I want to be absolutely honest, I feel like it was kind of an odd decision from the get-go to make something like that from a company, as I said, like BioWare, that's not known for those sort of games. And that's again where I'm starting to get angry, where it's EA just starting, putting their foot in the door and being like, okay, you need to make more things I guess that are multiplayer focused. I don't know, because that's what EA knows best, how to do multiplayer games. And I don't know. I always made the question, why did they want BioWare under their wing in the first place? Obviously, the big answer is money, but it's just they don't fit their repertoire of what they make. So it's just a really confusing decision in the first place. Why did they bring BioWare under their wing? But I don't know. Evan, take over.
Yeah, what I'll say about that is that the devs and the project leads and stuff that were at BioWare when they made the games that you know and love, like the original Dragon Age and Mass Effect, like those people are no longer part of BioWare, and really like anybody who was a part of making those classic BioWare games like haven't been there in a long time. So for me personally, like the fact that BioWare made Anthem, it doesn't really, like at this point, like BioWare itself is just a company's name, and I don't really think that the people who were behind those games that I love, like KOTOR and the original Dragon Age and Mass Effect, aren't really there anymore. So from that aspect, I don't know if the fact that it was BioWare personally just doesn't really bother me. But I do 100% agree with what you're saying about EA. Just kind of comes in and it's the problem you run into when a company that large is making decisions about, video games. And I think I'd mentioned this in our Discord chat, but it becomes less about, let's make a great game. And it becomes more about like, hey, what's going
to make us the most money?
Let's look at other games. Let's look at, these live service games that are, you don't release really a fully finished product. You kind of release a game that's half done, and then you kind of add to it, over the course of a couple years. So it helps from that aspect. And like, it makes you more money because you still put the $60 price tag on it. But then it's like, hey, there's the season pass, there's DLC, there's cosmetics, and it's all about making as much money as you possibly can.
I just don't think after. Sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to say, I think that Anthem and, I think we're going to talk about Dragon Age too, kind of pivoting to being single player, story-driven RPG when they were trying to make it multiplayer and have a live service aspect to it. And I think it goes to show that, when it comes to the video game audience, people really do vote with their wallet, and they, have shown with Anthem was a huge, I think, example of, just because it's got BioWare's name on it, just because it looks really pretty and seems like a fun idea and has all this crazy marketing and hype and promotion, like people aren't going to buy the game if it's not fun. And I think EA is, for the longest time, I mean, EA has been around for a long time as a video game. I mean, and
rightly so. They've earned their place with, I guess, being one of the best. I say one of the best publishers when it comes to at least to sports games and things like that.
And I think that for a long time they were used to video games being had a little bit of a monopoly because it wasn't so accessible for anybody to get, Unreal Engine or anybody to get, Unity and these small teams to make games. And like, it did take a lot of money. And so there weren't as many competitors back in the late 2000s, early, 2010s and everything when EA was really, blowing up. And I think they now probably are starting to understand, like, there's so much competition out there. Like, we can't just slap together whatever seems like it's popular right now and make money. I think Anthem was a huge, hopefully, wake up call to them that just doing the current trend and putting a nice coat of paint on something is not going to sell 10 million copies.
That's what I mean, because obviously I want to feel like anybody who wants to make a live service game now needs to look at things like Anthem, like Avengers, and just see that maybe it's not the best idea. I don't know. Maybe it's a thing that isn't successful anymore. Or maybe it's just a case of you need to work on it for a long, long time to make it good.
Well, I think I just don't think it always is going to be successful. I like live service games. Like, I think they can work. Like, I played a lot of Division 1 Division 1 and 2 as well, but Destiny as well. And I think they're fun games and they work if, that's the goal for the game, but just trying to force a game to be that because it's profitable is not going to be fun. I mean, the game has to be fun to play. There has to be a lot of content. They're essentially trying to make an MMO that's a little more casual, right? They're trying to make World of Warcraft for consoles for the more mainstream audience. And World of Warcraft has hundreds and hundreds of hours of content, right? I mean, you can, at this point, spend so much time in a game like that, whereas they're releasing these games like Destiny that you can do everything in the game in 15 hours, and then there's nothing to do because you're waiting on that drip feed of content.
Mm-hmm. And then it's another thing I just wanted to say about Anthem before I guess we get Ober's input and then move on is to Dragon Age 4. I feel sorry for the devs that were working on Anthem. Like, I kept saying like I kind of wanted to give it a go at some point. I probably won't now because I was waiting on this big next update they were doing, and they, everyone was kind of comparing it to like they're working really hard on it, like night and day, trying to make it almost like, I guess, like the next No Man's Sky kind of thing, like try and give it a really big update that will change it for people. And then obviously then to have, because I don't know who makes the decisions like this. I'm assuming it's kind of like higher ups of BioWare and EA, like coming in the door and being like, okay, so we're not doing this anymore. You lot are moving on to Dragon Age production, and then that's it. That's just them stopping now. Obviously, they don't lose their jobs, but they've spent so much time in trying to make it better, and now it feels like it's just all been for nothing, and it's disappointing in that respect.
Make you wonder how far along they did come with the project.
Going now into like the next part. Sorry, Liam, to steal your spotlight.
That's okay.
But then going into Dragon Age 4 quickly, just talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was revealed in. Have you got something to say about?
Like, no. I mean, it's a perfect transition, really, to say, because as I say, they've cancelled Anthem for a reason, haven't they?
Mm-hmm. So I could focus more effort onto Dragon Age, but there was an big article released by Jason Schreier, and who managed to find out, or EA revealed, that essentially that Dragon Age 4 was going to be a more multiplayer focused game. I don't know if it was leaning more towards a live service game. Mm-hmm. And just looking at that just made me get angry again, because I had a rant on my stream about just thinking, like, BioWare are known for, as I said, for single player story driven RPG games. And I kept emphasizing single player RPGs. And I just kept emphasizing it all the time. And the fact that EA were considering, because it was revealed that it was an EA decision, which I don't think anybody's surprised at, that it was their decision to try and turn it into a more multiplayer focused thing. Try and turn a big franchise that is obviously people love for obviously the single player elements and the big stories and everything like that, and turn it into some form of, I guess, like a Dragon Age Anthem, a Dragon Age Destiny. I don't know. Mm-hmm. It annoys me so much because, again, I feel like BioWare is one of my favorite developers, and then they have seen tough times, obviously, with no large part because of EA as well, and they're in tough waters, if that makes sense. They're in worrying waters, because they've had now 2 games in a row that have technically, I guess, if you want to put, have been failures, which is Andromeda and Anthem. If you want to put, obviously, I know there's people out there that I say like both those games, but commercially they didn't do well. So it's a lot of people saying, will BioWare be the next company that EA puts on the chopping block and things like that? And I feel like, sometimes I'm half like, no, they're going to pull out of that. But then there's another part of me, it's like, I don't know. Obviously, their next game's the next Mass Effect, next Dragon Age have got to be really good, I think, for them to stay above water. But then also, I just think surely EA knows this, and it'll be, and if that happens, if like the next Mass Effect or the next Dragon Age is a big disaster like the other two games seem to have been, then that's obviously them possibly shutting down BioWare, and that's a lot of money for them gone. And I'm like, so I just don't know why they were potentially going to make another, I feel, really stupid decision to make Dragon Age a more multiplayer focused game when all the fans will probably just riot at that point.
Yeah, I mean, it's to me, it's, you know, like when you see, you know, there's a popular like movie franchise, and then they start making like spin-off TV shows and stuff like that, and it's, you know, it's more profitable to take something that has name recognition, right, and then just slap that on something, even if it's not related to like the original, you know, IP or the original content.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like, and I think it's another thing that BioWare is starting to, or not BioWare, EA is starting to understand, or hopefully, I mean, I'm hoping they're starting to understand and learn, is that, you know, it seems different from like television and movies and other, you know, forms of media, like video games. Like fans aren't necessarily going to, you know, buy a game and love it and praise it just because it's, you know, set in a world they know, or it's got, you know, the Dragon Age name on it. And I think they're, you know, I mean, the article we're referencing here from Polygon even says, you know, they attribute it to Anthem failing and Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, you know, doing well. And they, you know, I mean, I hope they're starting to kind of understand that it's, you know, fans are telling you what they want, and they're being very vocal, and you know, they want stuff that's true to like the source material, and they want, you know, these games that started as single player story driven RPGs to stay that way. And I'm, you know, hoping they're starting to understand, like, maybe if we listen to the fans instead of listening to our, you know, what the data shows is the most popular trend right now, that, you know, they'll be more successful. And there's a lot to be said too about, you know, people's perception of a company, right? Like anytime EA, I find out they're making something, like I just kind of roll my eyes. I'm never like excited about an EA game, because I know EA is a terrible company, and they keep, you know, what is that? They win like that, you know, quote unquote award every year for like worst company, or I can't remember what the actual title of it is, but they've like multiple years they've won this award for being like the worst company just in general, not even just in video games. And it's like, you know, at what point do you start to take you know, some financial hits, but, you know, you start to earn back the trust of your, you know, your fans and the people who buy your games.
So moving on, with everybody will have a game or a game IP or franchise that we're very fond of, and some of these games, IPs or franchises, may no longer be around or have not been around for a very long time. So I thought it'd be quite fun for us to maybe just throw out maybe a couple of game franchises or IPs that we would like to see revived. So who would like to start?
Yeah, I'll go for it.
Go
I've
for
got
it, James.
one straight on top of my head, and that is Time Splitters. I think it's the perfect time. Oh, there you go. Time to.
That is being revived, isn't it?
No, I don't think. Well,
I think so.
There was news of talking about it maybe a couple of years ago or a year ago, but nothing's actually. There was supposedly a Time Splitters 4, and there was a small trailer, but I haven't seen anything, so I don't know if it's dead in the water, because obviously we were saying the other day that the company who made it have been bought up by, I can't remember what
is this
THQ Nordic, right?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So it could be dead in the water, but I'd like for it to not be. But
I'm just watching the last update by the looks of it, which was on September 2020 was the last.
Are you looking at Time Splitters Rewind?
Yeah, that's the one.
Is this not a not a fan remake, like in a different engine? Is this an actual? I thought it was like just like a group of fans.
It's a fan made recreation.
Yeah, it's not like an official like sequel.
Oh, I can't remember when that. I think it was 2019 that they did that. They did this very, very short, like 20-second clip, and it got everyone talking. It was like, but then that was it. There is no talk of it now. So
what was Time Splitters billed as again? Was it the
cracking game?
Was Time Splitters billed as a Halo killer?
No, well, I'm not entirely sure.
Oh, was it
that sort of game, wasn't it?
Or was it the next GoldenEye?
Yeah, well, it's. I mean, I think Time Splitters is better than GoldenEye, but that's just my opinion. But I think if they bring it back, going back to what I said at the start, they'll bring it back in VR. I think
okay.
it'd be a great idea.
Do you think?
Oh, it'd be amazing.
Yeah.
But I just got VR on the brain now. So.
I remember playing Time Splitters so much with my older brother when I was a kid.
You're going to end up like the Lawnmower Man if you're not careful, James.
I remember playing Time Splitters 2 with my brother all the time, like making our own levels. You can make your own like multiplayer maps.
Oh wow, could you?
Yeah,
Was that
and
PC
then the second one
only?
at least you could.
Mm-hmm.
Surely that was PC exclusive?
No,
PlayStation 2, I had it on.
No way.
PlayStation 2.
It was PlayStation and GameCube, I think it was.
Yep.
No, I
Time
meant the map
Splitters has never
building.
been on a PC.
No, yeah, you could do it on console.
Oh wow.
Yeah, you just had like set pieces you could like lay down and connect together, like hallways and bigger rooms, and you could put down where you wanted like weapons to spawn and where you wanted the people to spawn, and it was pretty fun. You could make some pretty crazy stuff.
That actually sounds really impressive, especially for the time as well, to be able to create those kind of maps on a console.
Yeah, it's kind of like a precursor to like in Halo 3 when they started like the Forge, where you can make your own maps. It was kind of similar to that. Alrighty, a game that I have like a list here, and I'm kind of trying to debate which one I'd like to see the most. So just because it's been in recent news, I'll go with this one. So Star Wars Republic Commando. So
that's been in recent news.
they're bringing a I don't even think it's a remaster. I don't think they're putting it in HD or anything, right? It's just they're re-releasing the game on current consoles. Yeah, it's just a port, which is funny because it's been on PC for years, but which I have it on PC. But the game, it's a for those who haven't played it, it's a first-person shooter where you play as a squad of clone troopers, but they're like special forces clone troopers. They're like not. They're like they were all born with like kind of something different that made them unique from all the other clones. So those clones, I guess, are put in like the special forces unit, and you're basically going through some of the events, or it's set during the Clone Wars movie, and you're basically going kind of through and fighting like the separatist forces and stuff. And it's like first person shooter, and there's some like squad commanding functions, so you can like tell people where to like set up behind cover and stuff like that. So it's you and your 3 squad mates, and kind of reminiscent of like older Call of Duty games almost, or like it reminds me a lot of, there's a series called Brothers in Arms that was really similar, like a World War II first person shooter that was very similar, but really fun game. I love anytime they take Star Wars and then don't focus on like the huge like the galaxy is gonna end if we don't save the day, but it's like those smaller stories, which is what this was. It was a lot more compact and a lot less high stakes than kind of your mainline Star Wars movies and video games, and it ended on a big cliffhanger. So I would love for them to finally come out and make that sequel, which I'm hoping they're about to announce it, since they came out with this port of the original on every current console. That's usually a pretty good indicator that they're going to have some sort of news about it coming up soon.
I've never played it, and I'm a big Star Wars fan, so
it's a fun game.
When was it originally released again?
2004, 2005.
Wow. Cool. That's a big gap as well if they were to finally release a sequel. Would the sequel live up to expectations, especially if they cancelled? Sorry?
There was a sequel, but it got cancelled.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they had started working on a sequel. Yeah, I don't think it got super far into development before it got canned.
It's called Imperial Commando.
I was going to say, I wonder if too much time has passed now for people's expectations to be really high on the sequel, especially considering they left it on a cliffhanger. Would it meet everyone's expectations?
That they're re-releasing it and people can go back and play the game again kind of helps with that, because it helps kind of reset expectations. You don't have
refreshes memories kind of thing.
And you kind of look back on things with rose-tinted glasses, right? Like you see things as better than they actually were, and if you actually go back and replay it, it's still a great game, but I mean, I'm sure if you haven't played it since 2005 or whatever, like you remember it being a lot different than it actually was.
I'm sure a lot of people probably won't want to see a repeat of Shenmue though.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I can't remember if you guys have played. I don't think you have you?
Mm-mm.
But there was a big gap between Shenmue 2 and Shenmue 3.
Yeah,
And-
there was. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
unfortunately,
that Shenmue, I didn't quite like Shenmue 3, to be honest.
you didn't, did you say?
No, I thought it was a bit of a letdown.
It was very Shenmue. That's the best way I can describe it. If you've played the original 2, then yeah, it's very traditional, but that's not in a good way because the game has not evolved in any sense. But again, I digress. I'm kind of getting a bit off topic, but yes, what my point was that sometimes when a game's been left for so long, it's not always a good idea to continue the story due to raised expectations.
Yeah, definitely. I trust what Disney has done with some of the things. Like I really like The Mandalorian. I like what they've done with that, and not to spoil, I'm not going to spoil anything about it if anybody hasn't watched it and planning on it, but they do a great job at taking things that fans love about, things from like the Clone Wars animated series and like things fans really like about Star Wars and doing those things. And I think
they've also...
Go ahead.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say they've also made, obviously, haven't they turned to Lucas? Well, LucasArts obviously was a company, and then I think they weren't a company, and now I feel like is it Lucasfilm Games? Is that what it's called now? Is that like a spiritual kind of like successor to that company?
Yeah, which is, I couldn't have been more excited talking about EA again. That EA no longer has the exclusive license to make Star Wars games.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, LucasArts Games is what it's called. But yeah. I trust them to allow somebody to hire a good writing team and a good head writer to make a good story. And I think outside of that, I mean, you take the gameplay from like Battlefront 2, the new one, and add in kind of those like squad commanding mechanics and put a good story on that. I mean, I don't think it's overly complicated to make a solid sequel to that.
My franchise. Now I had 3, but I'm going to narrow it down just to 1. And I think the one I'd be really intrigued to see where they take it. And unfortunately, it does take us back to EA. is the Strike series. So we're talking Desert Strike, Jungle Strike, Urban Strike.
Mm-hmm.
I'd really like to see how they can bring that into modern gaming today.
Well, they've made quite a few new air combat games, haven't they? That have been around for I think like a year or so, and they did really well, and they looked beautiful.
Do you mean like the Namco series?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
So the gameplay to
fantastic.
Desert Strike is almost completely different now, isn't it? Now,
It is,
Evan, Katie, have you played Desert Strike at all or heard of it?
I've heard of Desert Strike.
So is that where you play as like a helicopter, like a green helicopter, and like you're going around a map and like attacking enemies kind of thing?
Yeah.
That's the one.
Yeah. I'm looking at pictures right now. I have like faint memories of playing this game, or maybe a sequel to. Yeah, it must have been a sequel to it. 1992. There's no way I was playing that. I was not alive yet. Was there like a newer version on like the PlayStation 1 of this series?
Yeah, it was called Nuclear Dawn or something.
I think it was just called Nuclear Strike. Yeah.
Let me look that up real quick because I definitely remember playing it and like loving it because it was.
And Soviet Strike.
Nuclear Strike. Now I'm looking at it right now. I remember this 100%. The cover and the gameplay and everything. Yep, I definitely remember. You'd like pick up like the different like packages and you'd like attack people and you're going around like a jungly kind of area.
Yeah.
Yep, I definitely remember this.
It probably play like how you play on GTA 5 with helicopters and stuff. That's how I could see it. Like that sort of style.
Yeah, that is like an interesting because it's kind of a simplistic concept, right? Like these original games, what that would look like in 2021.
Yeah, I'm wondering whether they'll go full blown remake, full 3D, or whether or not they'll stick to its isometric roots and keep the controls feeling very familiar to old time players. Don't go nuts with it. Do kind of maybe what they did with Red Alert and Command & Conquer. Give it a nice facelift, high definition visuals, but not go nuts, and don't lose its original appeal. Don't turn it into a monster of its former self. That's my franchise I'd personally quite like to see, because I've got a lot of fond memories playing Desert Strike. It's not an easy game either. You have to do everything in order. If you stray too far away from your objective, you pretty much get shot down in one hit, don't you, James?
Yeah, it's See, I prefer Desert Strike out of all of them. I think I played. You got Desert Strike, Jungle Strike. Yeah, Jungle Strike is the one I also remember really well.
Yeah.
What was the other one?
Urban Strike.
Urban Strike is the one I probably didn't really play much of. But yeah, Jungle Strike and Desert Strike are the ones I remember the most. Saving the people from like a cruise ship and things. Bits and bobs. Yeah.
Yeah, this is like it's so weird that you bring this up. This is like one of my earliest like gaming memories is playing Nuclear Strike. Like it's so weird that like looking at this game now. Like I totally forgot about this game until you brought it up, and I started like looking at. And I know this is a different specific installment than the one you're talking about, but I remember having so much fun playing it, and also getting extremely frustrated being like 7 years old and trying to like figure out how to like land the helicopter, and like the controls were kind of wonky, and like you had to be directly over the thing you wanted to pick up in order for like the little like extension thing to go down and pick it up. And it's a lot of fun. I think they could do this now. I mean, I think it would have to be a shorter experience that's like runs you $20. Like I don't think they could make a full-blown AAA like $60 game for out of just this concept of what you're doing. Yeah. But I do think I could see them making like a really nice looking with like tight controls and kind of like some like similar like game length, maybe a little bit longer, and charging like $20 for it, kind of like an indie game, and it being pretty popular. Because I remember, I mean, it's a fun game.
It was a really fun game because it's a different, it was different because, again, back in the 16-bit era where we're mostly, we're drowning in platformers pretty much. Mm-hmm. This was a unique game where we could, control a helicopter and blow up buildings, blow up satellites, and then, drop a ladder down from your helicopter and pick up, survivors in the desert. It was different. I'm just having a look now at Nuclear Strike on the PS1, and the HUD's all over the place. What is going?
It's kind of a mess.
There's very little in terms of actually clear screen space here, and that
I don't think they had mastered that part of video games in 1997.
No, definitely not. They were very limited.
Yeah.
Katie, how about yourself? What would you like to see revived?
It's not really a long. I don't like the term dead, but you know what I mean, like long abandoned IP. But it's Metal Gear. I would love to see Metal Gear make a return, and I feel maybe, I don't know, is it possibly something's going to happen with it? Because last year, I can't remember exactly when last year, but obviously Konami gave permission to GOG, the PC platform, to put out I think it was like the original 2 or the very first original Metal Gear. So like the top down, really 8-bitty looking ones. And then they also had obviously Metal Gear 1 to me, which is the PlayStation 1 game, like one of the best games of all time. And Metal Gear Solid 2 on there as well. Obviously not really upgraded graphics and not anything like that. Like I think Metal Gear Solid 1 is the PlayStation 1 version, so like the blocky faces with no eyes and and when they talk their heads just move up and down. So it's basically just porting them over onto PC for people to play. But I don't know if that's an indicator of maybe something happening. I don't know. Maybe even if it's like just a collection for like all Metal Gear Solid 1 to 4 or even 1 to 5. So the thing is, I always forget 5 because I know Twin Snakes. I did on the GameCube. I did play that, and that's obviously I like it. I don't know if because it obviously looks better than the original one, but I don't know. A lot of people I feel like still prefer the original I don't know. I just love to see. I've said it multiple times. I feel like not on here, but other places. It's one of those franchises I would love to see be worked on again and people to get excited for again, because it was obviously, when I was growing up, Metal Gear was one of the biggest franchises in gaming, and people were excited for it. And then obviously I think we talked about it like from previous shows, that obviously the split between Kojima and Konami seems to have kind of almost been like a bullet into the franchise of Metal Gear, because obviously it was Kojima's it was his baby. So
what would you want to see new?
I don't
Because
know.
a
That's the
Metal Gear game
thing.
only
I
came out,
I
like,
thought
2
of like
years ago.
I thought of like Metal Gear as like when we were thinking of this topic, and I'm like, I still don't know what I would want. I don't know if I would want, I guess, the other games to be remade from the ground up. I don't know if I would want to see. I feel like I would want to see Snake. I feel like I would want to be Snake and it not be something completely like a new character, completely different. Because obviously, Metal Gear Solid 2 struggled a little bit with that with Raiden, but I would love to see us playing as Snake again. I would love. It's just the storytelling as well. I really miss about those games and just the crazy, wacky bosses you would fight that are just burning so many good memories I got from those games. So it's really weird. I don't know what I would like to see, but I just want Metal Gear back because it's especially for a new generation as well. Because I feel like I try to think Death Stranding is a game I think that's come closest to like introducing, I guess, what Metal Gear was like to new generations with just how out there and unique the story was.
Yeah.
So would
Did you
you
play Metal Gear Survive?
I have not, and I know that's the like battle royale, right? Or
I don't
whatever.
think it's a battle royale. It's like a zombie survival game, right?
Well, I don't know. I just know it's a Metal Gear multiplayer game, and it's just like, and I've heard it's not great.
Yeah. So would you want a new Metal Gear if Hideo Kojima was not involved at all? Like if he didn't come, or Konami made it and they were like, obviously not going to work with him, or would you want it?
I
only
don't.
want it
I
if
see.
he
I
was
feel like I would
involved with
want to
it?
give them the chance. I don't know. I feel like
Isn't
I
that
would
what
want
Metal
to
Gear
give them.
Survive was though? Wasn't that the game they made without him? And
that was a
really, Metal Gear
multiplayer
Solid
game,
5,
though,
the second half of
wasn't
it was
it?
made pretty much without him, right? That's why the story
mean,
kind of falls off. And
I guess unless there's some, because I don't know if Kojima would want to get involved again because he's maybe like I've spent so
That's-
many years of my life on it. It's
that's
not
kinda-
my thing anymore. But
that's
I would
kinda
like to
my-
think, is there anybody like below him when they were working on it previously that he would trust to carry on the stories or something like that? I don't know, but
I don't even think that's Kojima's decision at this stage.
No.
Oh, no, it's not. He doesn't.
No,
he doesn't
no,
have
no,
any
no, it
right to
wouldn't
the
be,
IP
no.
or anything.
The-
Konami
what-
owns it all.
No, exactly. What I was going to say, Katie, is that you were mentioning that one of the things you loved about Metal Gear Solid was its stories, but that was all Kojima, really, wasn't it? He was such a visionary, and when he left Konami, essentially the Metal Gear franchise died because when, as James said and Evan said, when you look at Metal Gear Survive, it's just a complete departure from what everybody knows Metal Gear Solid to be, or the Metal Gear franchise to be. Yeah, absolutely, it was. They were doing exactly the same thing as EA are guilty of, and that was putting something out there and trying to get as much money from the Metal Gear name as possible. I mean, let's
That's
be
what
honest.
they do with their pachinko machines. They just slap a famous game title on it, and they know it'll attract people. I mean, it really is.
Can anyone remember what the last game Konami actually released was on a?
It was probably a PES game.
Gear Survive, right?
Let's exclude Pro Evolution Soccer.
Yeah. Okay.
What was it?
I actually want to look up.
What was the question again?
What was the last game Konami released? I think it was Bomberman.
Oh yeah,
I'm actually looking up them on Wikipedia.
That weird like remake or not remake,
Bomberman
revival, whatever.
Konami.
And let's be honest, I genuinely think if we're going to see Metal Gear come back, it's either going to be in the form of a remake, or it will be as a result of a buyout from another company.
I think and I mean, I'm not like a super in-depth follower of Hideo Kojima, but from what it sounds like, he's kind of moved past Metal Gear Solid, and I don't even know if he was presented with the opportunity if he would buy that up for Kojima Studios and make a new game, even if it was an option.
Do you think that Sony appear to be in bed with Kojima Productions now? I know that there was this whole tease recently because Phil Spencer was seen with the Kojima Productions logo in the background of one of his interviews. So maybe there could be a possibility of Death Stranding being released on Xbox, or people were speculating that Xbox might buy them. But I think if anyone's going to buy Kojima Productions, it's probably going to be PlayStation. And I think if I don't
think anyone, honestly.
Sorry?
I was saying I don't think anyone will buy him. I think he's worked for a massive corporation for so long and seen kind of what that can do. If he really owns this new dev studio and publisher, why would he want to be owned again by some massive
Oh,
corporation.
okay. Yeah, I see that.
I don't know how much he needs the money or anything. He could, he can, if he can make a game like Death Stranding that's extremely like graphically, impressive and technically impressive, like why would he not keep doing that on his own?
Do you think if the Metal Gear license or the Silent Hill license was not offered to him, he wouldn't take it up?
Silent Hill, maybe. He was ready to make
Silent
that
Hill,
game.
maybe. But I feel like Metal Gear, as much it is his baby. He brought it into the world. He introduced it to everybody. He built it from the ground up. But I feel like he would think my time with it is done.
Mm-hmm.
Possibly.
I mean, he probably was, and I'm again just speculating, but he might have been done telling that story after a game or two instead of stretching it out into however many games it ended up being with all the spinoffs. And it's Konami making him make more games because they're successful and they make money, right? Like, at what point was he actually done? Like, I don't want to make more Metal Gear Solid games, but he had to keep doing it. And I'm not saying that did happen. I'm just kind of guessing.
Speculate, yeah.
But you wouldn't be surprised, really, if that was the case, because it's such a huge franchise, and it was a money earner, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, it was probably. I mean, in the last 20 years, like that's probably like the main thing Konami was doing, right? I mean, Pro Evolution Soccer, and I mean, I'm looking at.
I just looked at it, and I feel like the last thing on the Wikipedia list was something called Basuo Shinki, Armored Princess Battle Conductor, whatever the hell that is.
Yeah, that's a classic. I remember that.
That's the last thing. Like, I feel like because they've got 3 or 4 games on their TBD, so they are probably making some more games.
I've got Momotaru Dentetsu Showa wa. I can't not pronounce the whole thing.
They don't seem to make any more games apart from like
Contra,
Pez and Dance games or whatever.
I guess still a thing. Dance Revolution.
I don't know. It was 2019. This was, to be fair.
Skull Attack.
Sorry, James.
I made a game called Skull Attack. It's really good. It's a platformer.
It'd be interesting. It'd be interesting to see how big Konami are in term. If you ask their own country. Because if you look at a lot of their games that are being made lately, it seems like they're all for that audience rather than the Western audience.
That's true. It could just be a perspective, the culture we're from versus the games they're putting out in the East.
But Metal Gear Solid 1, I'm like, you just, all the just speaking of that game specifically, like all the stuff that goes on in that game, the boss fights, the Psycho Mantis moments, it's just how he came up with a lot of that stuff is it just boggles my mind how he could just come up with concepts like that. I think that's going to work in a game. And it did. It's just love it. That's so I would love to see Metal Gear come back. Try and ease people back in, I guess, with like remakes of like maybe for first 3 games or something, and then give us something else. I don't know. I don't think it's going to happen, but.
Yeah,
I can dream.
What I would hope to happen, or well, I guess I would love, if they just brought back, if Kojima could make more Metal Gear Solid. But what I think might happen, or what I'd like to see happen now that he's parted, is just him. Obviously, Death Stranding was kind of his like, Hideo Kojima like unleashed, like he had nobody telling him like, hey, this is
no one told him no, you can't do that.
Yeah, exactly. So hopefully he kind of got and Death Stranding seemed. I mean, I didn't play the game all the way through, but it was a pretty fun game. But hopefully, maybe he kind of takes a step back and kind of makes a new franchise or something where he can have creative control and it be kind of something like maybe similar to Metal Gear Solid, or kind of similar like vibe that those games and Death Stranding had. That could be another great game with like. Kind of groundbreaking mechanics and like a really crazy story, but maybe just not be Metal Gear Solid.
Just this game is we dream about a lot of things.
I know. He's working on something right now, and just no one knows what it is.
Yeah, that's right. He's very secretive, isn't he? He keeps everything very close to his chest. Well, there certainly were some memorable IPs mentioned, and many that were most likely cherished by millions, and only time will tell what the future holds. Let us know what gaming IPs you'd like to see make a return, or drop us a topic you'd like us to discuss by contacting us at xgenpod@gmail.com, or tweet us by using our handle at xgenpodcast1. Until next time, on behalf of Evan, Katie and James, I'm Liam saying thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.